Do you want to catch bass this winter? I've got some tips for you.
Welcome back to another episode of 5-Minute Fish Talk.
Dang it, I'm out of coffee in the 5-minute fish talk mug. Oh well, at least it's Friday. Happy Friday, online outdoorsman. Guess what? I've got 5 minutes on this timer here, and you know what that means. Boop! It's time to get real. We're talking about winter bass fishing today, and I'd like to give credit to Rodney and Melissa, who commented on a Facebook post that I made and helped me come up with this topic idea in the first place. So thanks again. You know what? I'm super excited to talk to you about where to fish, what to throw, so on and so forth. But before I get into all of that, I've got a couple other things that I'd like to mention. The first one being safety. You know, Rodney mentioned this in his comment, and I could not agree more. Safety should always be your number one priority when on the water, but during the winter when the water's cold and there's less people out there, it's even more important. So please do wear a life jacket, tell people where you're going, so on and so forth. It is super, super important. The next thing is staying warm out there. What clothes should you wear? Melissa commented on this, and this is also super important. Staying warm out there actually plays into your safety. I don't have necessarily any revolutionary tips here, but I will say this. Protect your extremities like your hands, your feet, and your head, and then layer up, baby. Be like Shrek out there. Layers. It's all about the layers.
Layers! Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it.
You can always take something off. Here is one comment is, I have yet to find the perfect fishing glove. I've tried so many different gloves, but yet, for whatever reason, I cannot find a glove that is actually comfortable out there for fishermen. So if you have a suggestion for me and the rest of the community, please do comment it below, because that'll be super, super helpful. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so let's get into the fun part. You know what? Where should you look for these fish? What should you throw? So on and so forth. Let's just set it for the record here that the winter is the hardest time to fish out of any season. You're going to catch much, much less bass this season than any other season. It's because their metabolism is super, super low and they're not actively feeding. Whereas during the spring, summer, fall, they've got a higher metabolism due to the water temperature, and so you can catch a lot more fish. So please do know that going in and set your goals accordingly. For me, when I go out there and fish in the winter, I generally just want to catch one fish. The one thing that I do know is that when you do catch one fish, the quality tends to be higher in the winter because the fish that are actively feeding are bigger and just need more food to sustain themselves. So keep that in mind. Okay, so what are the other things you need to keep in mind? The first one being water clarity. If the water's super clear, you're going to want to fish much, much deeper. If the water's super dirty, you can actually fish in less than 5 feet of water and catch fish. So don't feel like you have to fish in 30 feet of water. It all really depends on the lake. Things vary so much from one body of the water to the next. So please do keep that in mind. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is water temperature. Keep an eye on water temperature. You know, hopefully you have a fish finder. I don't, so this one's hard for me, but I'm going to get one eventually. But keep an eye on water temperature, and if it's 42 degrees here and 44 here, you want to fish here. Fish the warmest water you can possibly find, and you're going to maximize your chances. Okay, so what should you throw? Again, this is going to vary a ton. It's not like there's one miracle lure that works best. I will say this, in clear water, you're going to be able to get away with, a lot more finesse, more natural presentations, whereas in dirtier water, you might want to use bigger lures, just the same as any other time. But one thing's for certain, always fish super, super slow. Now, if the fish tell you otherwise, if you want to catch them, if you catch them really moving a bait fast, then keep doing that. But generally speaking, during the winter, I like to fish super, super slow. It's tough. It's just, it stinks. But it's something that you need to do. For clear water, I like to fish things deep, right? So one of my favorites would be a spoon. And I think Dawn over at the Winky Doodles channel will probably comment on this as well, because in Missouri, you can really wreck spotted bass on these things. But it does work for largemouth, smallmouth, and spots. You can get it down deep and you can kind of vertically present it. The other things are drop shots, jigs, like a football jig. I like a finesse football jig a lot. Shaky heads, underspins, blade baits, grubs. You're kind of seeing that a lot of these are shad imitators and moved really, really slow, very subtle. And again, you have to present it slow, so keep that in mind. The next thing would be if you're fishing shallow, you can kind of fish a lot of these same baits, jerk baits, deep jerk baits, fish them really, really shallow and really, really slow. You can throw a jig up shallow on shallow rock. You can throw a Ned rig. I know I say it in every single video, but this is incredibly great during the winter around shallow weeds. If there's vegetation that's still alive, you can catch a lot of fish doing that. I'm not saying that there's one lure that's going to really be a miracle lure here. There's several. They've all kind of got a lot in common, but there's several lures, and it really just depends on the water you're fishing. Okay, so that's it. That's enough. 10 seconds left. I did pretty good. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please do comment them below, because I can't get to everything in 5 minutes. It's kind of stressful. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and we'll catch you next time.